Hi folks, Doc Jake from Sioux Nation Ag Center here. Just like the rest of you, I'm getting prepared for calving season, which is right around the corner. Now, the first step in preparing for calving season is to make sure all of our equipment and our calving areas are clean. The reason for this is simple. If we keep everything clean, we're less likely to see infections in our cows, as well as less likely to see scours problems in our calves. The only downside is I don't have 7 dwarves to help me get all this junk clean. Now, I recognize in the chaos that is calving season, getting cleaning done is something that seems really hard to keep up with. But the health of your cows and calves depends on it. Look at it this way. If your wife was pregnant and you took her to a hospital where they didn't clean up between OB patients, how would she respond to that?
Hey, Carolyn, honey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If, when you have the baby, we went to the hospital and they hadn't cleaned up after the last lady who had a baby in the hospital, how would you feel about that?
No.
And that's exactly what it is when you don't clean up after calving.
It's gross.
So to keep from raising the ire of our cows or our wife, we need to make sure that we get everything clean between cows in our calving facility. Now, the biggest key is just to remove all the organic material, things like placenta or the fluids from birthing or manure, all of those things. If we get rid of those, we get rid of 90% of the pathogens that will be in the environment. So that's a pretty darn big reduction. What all should we clean then in order to make sure we're getting rid of everything?
Oh, whistle while you work, and cheerfully together we can tidy up the place.
Yeah!
So Doc, when it comes to keeping your calving area clean, do you recommend using barn lime?
That's an excellent question, generic rancher Ron. And barn lime is very useful. What barn lime does is it dries out the environment. Most disease-causing pathogens don't like being dried out. It actually causes them to die. So that's where barn lime can be very helpful. The same thing can be said for a lot of other disinfectants that you can use on equipment you use for calving or in a calving facility. But I want to make the statement that's very important. None of these work very well if you don't get all of the organic matter off of the equipment or the facility first. You see, if there's organic matter, that matter can trap those pathogens on the inside of it, making the barn lime or the disinfectant not able to penetrate the organic matter, and the pathogen still lives. So while all these things are good, and I would recommend using them, being the barn lime or disinfectant, I still would stress that we have to get all the organic matter off of the equipment first, and then let's worry about putting the disinfectant on. So folks, if you have any other questions about keeping calving areas clean, feel free to reach out to us at Sioux Nation Ag Center. We have the equipment that you would need for calving, as well as the cleaning products, and would be willing to do a walkthrough of your facilities if that's something you'd like somebody to do. Because as we know, if we keep things clean, cattle stay healthy, and healthy cattle are key to feeding that bottom line. Now, I recognize in the chaos that is calving season, things don't go the way we want them to all the time.
Okay. Whew! That was colder than I thought it was.
So with this in mind, there's a few things that we can look at. Do I use the phrase "with this in mind" in every single video that I do? Really, Jake, really?
If, when you have the baby, we went to the hospital and they hadn't cleaned up after the last lady who had a baby in the hospital, how would you feel about that?
No.
And that's exactly what it is when you don't clean up after calving.
It's gross. No.
That's what this is about. It's about cleaning up between your pen after you're done pulling a calf.
That makes a lot more sense. Gross.
I wanted to get your natural reaction.
You got some reaction.